And hey, everybody, it is half of the TBA News Comics Chat team, Robert Jeffrey. I am, I guess, I have the reins for tonight, and we are speaking to special guest Gene Selassie and about his work on Avengers for Dummies. So it's we're going to talk about the book. We're going to talk about the Avengers. We're going to geek out, have some fun. So let's get to it. And we are back after the after the title. As you can tell, I don't do the intro, so just trying to make this as natural as possible. But tonight we're going to talk all things Avengers. Pick Gene's head a bit about one of his favorite superhero teams, and talk about what it takes to what goes into writing a For Dummies book. So let's bring Gene into the show.
Hey, what's going on, Robert?
Nothing much, man. Nothing much. We're glad to have you here. Antonio's behind the scenes. I'm here, but we're both glad to have you on the show for you to grace us with your presence. But let me give our intrepid viewers an idea about who we got on the show. The esteemed writer, Gene Selassie, is a contributing writer, or was a contributing writer for the Eisner Award-winning anthology Puerto Rico Strong. He also wrote the Ringo Award-nominated The Ghoul Agency from Action Lab Entertainment, Voxel Dole from Myth Division, and Pulp Anthology Terminal, the Wrestling Anthology Kayfabe, and a Western for the Elsewhere Anthology. And additionally, he's a sports journalist who covered pro wrestling for the scrumsports.com and oneofus.net, which led him to writing a sports nonfiction book and How They Rumble, the 80 best pro wrestling bouts of over the past 40 years. So, Gene, you've been writing your butt off, and now you have one more book to add to that, the Avengers for Dummies. So, which is what we're here to talk about tonight. So I wanted to first start off by saying, like, man, how are you doing? How are you feeling? This is a major accomplishment.
It's still a bit surreal. Kind of immediately jumped into the next project before I had time to let this one kind of sink in and let it marinate. Seeing a book with my name on it, with a Marvel logo on it, still a bit surreal, but I'm enjoying it. Very thankful for the opportunity.
Awesome, love it, man, love it. Well, we'll let's just kind of jump right into it. As I say, as a writing nerd myself, and also as a comic book fan, I wanted to talk to you about, like, what was your process of researching and choosing, like, what to include from the book? Did that come from the publisher? Was that, were there ideas that you could pitch for it? Or was it kind of like a melding of both? And also, what is it like writing for a For Dummies book? Because this is like a huge brand, like, that goes back years. So, like, talk about a little bit about researching and, writing the actual book.
Oh yeah, and you're 100% correct. It's not lost on me that how big the For Dummies name is, and the exposure being someone having written one of those, it's huge accomplishment, and I don't take it for granted. Um, I think it was a little column A, a little column B. There's going to be my history and background of knowing the franchise front and back. I believe I've read through, before this project even came up, I believe I read through every issue twice. And so this was my third read through of everything. And I think it's just the key to writing a For Dummies book is trying to boil it down to the basics. When they say they're writing a book for dummies, they mean they want the most clear, concise, to the point information about, whether it be the characters, whether it be all of the headquarters the Avengers ever had, their villains, um, all of that stuff we want to boil down to as little fluff as possible.
Gotcha. Okay. So yeah, they're and and even with all that said, I would still think like this is daunting, right? What it's what was the official date that the Avengers were created, or like the first comic that they appeared in as a team? I know it was like the early '60s, right?
Yeah, 1963. Oddly
Okay,
enough, the same month that the X-Men debuted.
got you. The better team. No, let me stop. So,
Oh,
like in the comments, they're like, Robert, you've already done it. So from 1963 until, let's say, did it take you maybe about a year or two to write this book, or was it?
I
Or,
would say about 6 to 8 months. I was able to get it done.
okay, so like we're getting into the behind the scenes and all that. So like, let's say 2024, right?
Correct.
2024.
Yes, I
So
would say mid 2024 when signing
okay.
contract and putting together outline, and I would say yeah, about roughly about 7 months.
Gotcha. So from 63 to 2024, that's a lot of that's a lot of information to compress into a book, which is I think like 274 pages, right? So
Yeah, I don't even think that. I think it may be too. Well, yeah, I guess you're right. Counting in
yeah,
table of contents, indexes, things of that nature. Yes,
I'm
to
gonna
be.
hype you up. I'm gonna hype you up. It's that thing is 400 pages, y'all. I'm the
No.
Don King for tonight. It's
Had it not
amazing.
been had it not been for the editors,
Yeah.
you might not be too far off. I think I might have had to cut close to 80 pages worth.
Wow. Wow.
I
Well,
it's just like I said, when I said I read everything, I mean spin-offs, I mean solo series. It was honestly a lot of it was still fresh in memory.
mhm.
I This is being my third reread of everything. I think the only stuff I really needed to take my time and read was probably the last 5 years or so worth,
Mhm.
where that I may have not have been as fluent on, but that's pretty much it. That one of the cool things was getting that Marvel Digital subscription to be able to catch up on that.
On basically the back material, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Gotcha. Well, that's like I said, that's it's an amazing feat. One of the for dummies, because like I said, it's a well-known brand. I think I have a for dummies for fitness book sitting on the shelf. I have a for dummies like screenwriting book, from back in the day. So I was just like, I got to work out and write, whatever the two W's. But so whenever you go into a bookstore, it's a known brand. So one of the things that I love about the For Dummies books is that it tries to bring in new fans, right? Not people who are just into, whatever topic that they're discussing, which is, the book is also for them too. So one of the things I wanted to ask is, what would you say the book offers for new Avengers fans and existing Avengers fans, like yourself who go back, with the team like way back?
Well, for new readers, it's probably going to be the most how do I how do I say this? The most new reader friendly when you look at splitting up by sections. These are not long bloviated chapters. These are very concise chapters. These get to the facts, or the dragnet, just the facts, or excuse me, Naked Gun, just the facts, man. Or it may have been both, but yeah,
Right.
it's yeah. I try to keep an eye on making sure chapters are as brief but as informative as possible. So it was definitely a learning curve, especially if you're coming from either prose or from sports writing or
Mhm.
whatever. So I was able to get the hang of it pretty quick, and as you see, like the the most important subplots, the most important characters, the most important of the event stories, the most important uh, alternate reality stories that the Avengers have been in. You
Yeah.
try to not get into the minutiae of every single random back issue.
Mhm.
except when it comes to the membership. That's where I included every single person who had ever been an Avenger. And I believe that was as up to date as of 2024.
Got you. Yeah, that was one of the things I was noticing because I got, looking at there's a chapter that focuses on important storylines. When I saw like Empire was in there, I was like, this is up to the minute. I think the same thing with the
I think,
intern.
yeah, at Judgment Day, the Avengers X-Men Eternal story.
Yeah, yep, yep. So yeah, so that that's pretty cool. So it's one of those things that I think does work really well with teaching people about the who don't read comic books but maybe know about the Avengers from what do we say the movies, right? The MCU or from Avengers like Earth's Mightiest Heroes from the animated series. The other ones,
Greatest Marvel series of all time.
exactly. The other one we won't speak of, on the show. So I don't know. Shout out to to that one, but Earth's Mightiest Hero seems to be the one, and we'll come back to that. But basically, people who are only familiar with it from different forms of media or even the video games, I think what the book does very well is that it draws people in and it doesn't like inundate them or overwhelm them, which is, a testament to your writing skills. So I'll just say that straight up.
I
Um,
appreciate it, but that's also a testament to editorial.
yeah, and I love that.
Tim Gallen and Jennifer Yee, the editors I worked with, phenomenal. They helped me kind of whittle it down
Mhm,
until we got to a manageable book that I think is much easier for, like I said, new readers
mhm,
who've never read the comics, and especially lapsed readers who they may have only read during the 70s through the Steve Englehart era. They may have only read the 90s during the Bomber Jacket era. And they'll be able to catch up on all those other eras they may have missed.
love it. Yeah, they're and always as usual, shout out to the editors. Because with your background coming from comic books, it's essential to have people to help like trim the fat, right?
Oh
Trim
yeah,
the fat.
sure, sure.
Shout out to Fitness for Dummies. There you go. So just, but
I
yeah,
have about eight for dummies books
I
myself.
love it.
So
Yeah, it's just like you on your bookshelf, you have that yellow and black like bookend, and it's just like this is my library. One of the we kind of talked about this a little bit, but as a reader, I can imagine that this is a dream gig, um, and especially as an Avengers fan, because we've talked about your love for the Avengers. But getting a chance to play in the sandbox of a property that you love, you've kind of touched on this, but like how does that feel? How does that make you
it,
feel?
I mean, you said it best, dream gig. I mean, I'm glad that I didn't let it go to my head. I'm also glad I didn't fanboy out and try my best to get every character's shining moment throughout the entire 60 plus year history. I'm sure no one wants to hear my rants about how Gilgamesh was an underrated Avenger or how I want Hawkeye and Mockingbird back together.
Mhm.
But I I think I I got a really good vibe with every part of the contract signing. The everyone for dummies, like that entire group has been nothing but generous,
I love it.
very helpful. So I'm very blessed, very lucky to have gotten this gig.
Nice. So one of the things that we mentioned in your bio, with your background, is that sports journalism, but then also you're a nonfiction writer, right? So you've written nonfiction work. So how does that, and is it maybe just the research that parlays into you know doing a book like this, or is there anything else that you might bring from your like nonfiction background which helped you, with writing this, or is it just as simple as like the researching aspect of things?
Well, research is a huge part of any sort of nonfiction endeavor. The last book I wrote and how they rumbled, that required, I think it took about 14 months worth of research before
Mhm.
I even started writing. That one was quite a workload. That book took a little over 2 years to get completed.
Oh
I
wow.
believe this one, given my background of knowing a lot of Avengers lore and
Mhm.
already owning quite a bit of the issues in question, it was really mainly catching up on the most recent stuff from the last 3 to 5 years and those small gaps in my collection that I've not read. And I would say the first 500 issues of Avengers, I may have missed maybe a total of 20 issues,
Oh
but
my
now
God, that's amazing.
I've filled in those gaps.
Yeah, yeah, that's amazing, man. Because there are people who have a certain aspect of like whatever fandom that they have, and um, get really into it, right? And that is a blessing, especially when you you present the information. Like if you hadn't written this book and we were just talking about Avengers, it still works, right? Because you are um, you love the material, but you're not obnoxious when you talk about it with other people. And so I like the fact that you are a professional writer who is still a fanboy, and you're getting a chance to present this in such a manner that it's not like lording over people who don't know about it, right? And that's
Well, I
and
guess that comes from like growing up, especially reading comics in the early '90s.
yeah.
It was it was most people were either X-Men fans, Batman fans, Spider-Man fans.
Mhm.
If you were a fan of anything else, you were lucky if you found one or two people that could
Mhm.
discuss that with you. So it's kind of hard to be like comic book guy from The Simpsons when
Yes.
your franchise is not the one that everyone's talking. Which that has changed. Now we have the
Yeah.
MCU, and Avengers are the bee's knees, as they say.
Yeah, I mean everybody's like when Endgame came out, when Infinity War, you would see people in the A t-shirts, who probably weren't rocking those before. It was like when people were getting the Batman symbol within the haircuts back for like Batman 1989.
Oh
So
yeah.
so it shows like how big this particular part of comic books have gotten. I want to dig in a little bit into um, kind of some of the material in the book itself, the Avengers themselves. I wanted to, so let's talk about the most important characters in the book. I mean, in this book from the Avengers lineup, um, the Wizard and Two Gun Kid. No, I'm kidding. So I wanted to mainly talk a little bit about including the more obscure side of the Avengers, because I'm being honest with you, like without being an Avengers, stan or head, knowing this stuff, there were a lot of people like the two I just named who I did not know about. So I wanted you to talk about, rather than just only focusing on Thor, Iron Man or Captain America. You have two characters like that in this. What was it about the obscure characters that kind of drew you in, or that you like writing about?
Well, I my this goes back to my first issue of Avengers I ever got. I started reading Avengers because like my entry point in the comics was Iron Man. My
Mhm.
very first comic, my mom got one of those 3 packs from the bodega in the Bronx, and one of the books in there was Iron Man 225, Part One of Armor Wars. Of
Okay.
that's got to be one of the like lottery ticket type entry points in the comics. Like you start of the most important story of that character's history. So, and over the course of reading Iron Man, of course, you're going to have Avengers references, characters showing up. So I started getting curious about reading them. So then my junior high and high school, I moved to Florida, and going to the flea market, found the back issue bin of all back issue bins, and I went to try to find the oldest issue of Avengers they had, which was issue 189,
Mhm.
and that was my very first Avengers issue. And if you go back and read it, how do I put it lightly? I will say my favorite all time character is Iron Man. My number two is Hawkeye, but
Mhm.
that was not the case at that point. He was a loudmouth jerk, and over the course of years of reading it, I kind of warmed to the character.
Okay.
And one of the things that I love about the Avengers and what separates them from, like, let's say, the Justice League
Mhm.
is it's not all the big guns. It's some big guns with their own books, and then some of the other more, I hate the term second stringer, but second string characters.
Mhm.
The thing is, when you do a book with all big guns, all star characters, those characters each have their own book. So you're only going to be allowed so much leeway with them. Whereas when you have the Avengers, yeah, Cap, Iron Man, and Thor, there's only so much you can do with them. Same with like Black Panther, Captain Marvel. Now that Carol Danvers is like one of the premier characters, there's only so much you can do with them. Whereas the meaty, dramatic stuff, the soap opera stuff, was
Mhm.
the Hawkeye dealing with his inferiority complex, seeing that play out full on, especially during the Roy Thomas era, or Hank Pym's mental breakdown, or the Vision Scarlet Witch, will they, won't they? Monica Rambeau having to, like, being a superhero, and then like a year later, everyone unanimously voting her as Avengers chairperson. How that kind of out of the blue kind of weighs on the character. Those type of stories you can get in Avengers while also seeing those all-star characters pop in.
Gotcha. They're so for me, like my frame of reference for like a large team incorporating like, and I, let's say, I don't want to say side characters, but I also don't want to say like second stringers. It's something like Justice League Unlimited, like watching
Yeah,
that animated series. So when I saw, the mention of somebody like I said, the Wizard, or the Two Gun Kid, um, it was cool to see that, because I think I've always thought of the Avengers as being, you know, heroes are heroes. So they're all like the best, but then you have the top tier, right? The Trinity of the Avengers, right? That, Thor, Iron Man, and Cap.
yeah,
Those three. So it was cool seeing that you took the time to not just like, oh, here's just Black Panther, Natasha Romanoff and Hawkeye. I love the obscurity obscurity characters like this. So that works. So I appreciate that, as a
oh yeah,
reader.
oh yeah. And I know, in the post movie age, the big guns, especially you can see it in the comics, they kind of have taken full stage, so you
Mhm.
don't get as much of that meaty soap opera anymore because the book is now the all stars, just like
Right,
Justice League has
right.
become. But I think it does a disservice by not including those other, which we're kind of seeing more and more them
Hmm.
filtering back in. I mean, hell, Night Thrasher is
Hmm.
was an Avenger recently, which I think is pretty awesome as a new Warriors fan and especially a Night Thrasher fan.
Yeah, yeah.
And funny enough, in that book, they also brought back the Letterman jackets.
I love it. I love it. It's
Yeah.
pretty awesome. So I kind of, as a follow up, I wanted to ask, because you mentioned the Justice League, but what do you personally feel, or why do you feel that the Avengers work so well as a team? Like, no matter what iteration of the team you have, like, what is it about that squad that makes them who they are?
Yeah, different writers who have written the characters have stated, like Kurt Busiek said it best. They're Marvel's Knights of the Round Table.
Okay.
Like, when any other group of heroes or any other solo hero, if the threat's too big for them, if if it's something that any other team is not able to handle, Avengers' last line of defense between humanity and extinction, basically.
Nice,
and
nice,
and I love that Knights of the Round Table allegory.
awesome. There, and that, that's at least the. I want to see more of that with the movies. I do think we did get that with both Endgame and Infinity War. But I want them, and that's why I'm kind of excited. I'm very excited about Doomsday, where you're getting I don't want to say the second string, but basically like the phase 3 or 4 folks, coming in, who aren't necessarily like the big, the starting 3 or whatever. So,
And it's
but they're,
exciting. You're
yeah,
right.
yeah. And it's just because like we've had, what, like 10 years worth building up to the first Avengers, and you're just like, okay, this is the squad and working together. But I think with Doomsday, you haven't seen these teams, like you haven't seen Shang-Chi working with Shuri the Black Panther, right, in previous movies. So like we're going to have this movie where all of these other Avengers that you've seen in other things just are coming together. So that's personally exciting for me, and I see that captured in some of these like big storylines that have featured the Avengers that you talk about in the book. And I prefer that because you personally don't want to keep seeing the same story, not the same story, but seeing the same team again and again and again. So, which I think works.
And I love the fact that they're doing so, because honestly, you look at any era right now, if you wanted to do for example, the Roger Stern era Avengers,
mhm,
I don't know what her contract status is, but if you wanted to use Evangeline Lilly Wasp, bring in Tatiana Maslany to play She-Hulk again, bring
yeah,
in Kit Harington to play Black Knight, bring in Brett Goldstein to play Hercules,
mhm,
Tenaqueta to play Namor, and Teyonah Parris as Monica Rambeau. You have the
yes,
entire Roger Stern era Avengers in live action if you wanted to right
love it. I love it. Um, so speaking of like actual team members, who are your 3 standout characters from the various rosters like over the years? I could have said like who are your top 10, right? But since we got a time crunch, who are your top 3? And
now.
is it easy to choose 3? Or have you thought about this?
Yeah. 3. It's kind of hard to nail 3. I
Okay,
mean, I can probably do 5. I could probably do
let's do
5.
5. Let's do 5.
I mean, Iron Man, of course, being my favorite character. Hawkeye,
Mhm.
just he's like probably my favorite Avenger, so to speak. Photon, Monica Rambeau is just like the power, the experience, the
Yeah.
leadership skills. Uh, Quasar, another one
Mhm.
who's you probably have to dig in the vaults. Like, who's that? Like, he's a freaking awesome character that had probably one of the most underrated 60-issue runs throughout the early 90s.
Yeah.
And I, I'm gonna have to say Cap, just because of anytime there's like chaos, he's the glue that brings them back together. Even
Love it.
going back to the issue 16 with the first roster shakeup, he was the one bit of continuity from the previous team to the next.
Nice, nice. And for the Hawkeye mention, shout out to Mac, who that's his favorite superhero. But so inside joke. So I love that. I don't know. I love the diversity of that crew. Like that's cool. So that works for me. I couldn't tell you like my top 3 or 4 because one of the things I admit after reading this is I haven't read like a lot of specific runs of the book, and I found myself highlighting not the physical copy, which you can buy at all bookstores across this world. You can buy it across the U.S. or whatever. But one of the things I found out when I was reading it on the Kindle, highlighting specific runs, so I could go and find those books and find those trades, and because I'm becoming very interested. So like I said, that's a testament to your writing, dude. So you making me want to go and buy stuff. For
I
that reason
appreciate it.
alone, Marvel should hire you to write some Avengers comics. Just saying. He's just, I'm
Thank
sorry,
you for the
like
word
this
of
is gonna be the hype show, you know. This is gonna be the hype show.
Thank you. That's what, like I said, Iron Man or Avengers.
Hmm.
And when people ask me about my dream Avengers roster, it's hard to pin down because,
Hmm.
like, what type of Avengers book are you telling? The
Yeah.
roster that I would use for, let's say, a revival of Avengers Academy would be much different from a covert ops book like Secret Avengers or Force Works, which would be
Hmm.
much different than your classic Avengers type of lineup. So I have about 6 or 7 different rosters of characters that I would use
Wow.
depending on what type of Avengers book the editors wanted to
Love
put
it.
forth.
I love it.
And
I
I
mean,
can even go to my top 10 if you wish, and it'll be really quick.
no, it goes. I mean, yeah. Like, is it like 5 additional ones, or is it like
Yeah,
10
yeah.
new ones?
No. 5
Okay.
additional.
Yeah. Five. Who are your 5 additional ones, man?
War Machine,
Hmm.
and that's another character I'd kill to write because oh, there's so much material with his military background, with just technology. And I mean, we've all seen Gundam. We've all seen the type of badass stories you can tell.
Hmm.
So yeah, Rhodey's definitely on my list. Um, Carol Danvers makes the list.
Okay.
And what's funny is it was not until like the 2010s that she made my list. It was all the work
Wow.
that Kelly Sue DeConnick did with
Mm.
like. She's always been a really good character. I just felt like this made her a lead.
Awesome. Awesome.
You know, I know people hate him, but Quicksilver,
Okay.
he's done some. There have been great stories featuring
Yeah. Yeah.
him.
Yeah.
Um, uh, as a West Coast Avengers fan, Living Lightning,
Okay.
like
Yeah.
Miguel Santos was an awesome character. I wish he was more in the Avengers more often.
Yeah.
And the second Spider Woman, Julia Carpenter.
Yeah. So it was funny. It's funny you mentioned the Living Lightning because he was one of those characters that I was like, why haven't we seen him? You know, um, and a lot of characters where it it makes you realize that there is no shortage of characters or storylines that they can pull from. It doesn't just have to be Thanos. It doesn't have to be a Kang centric story. There was what's his name, Jason Korvac, John Korvac,
Oh,
or
Michael Korvac. Yeah,
Michael
Michael
Korvac.
Korvac.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was like, who is this dude
Ooh.
with like a regular name? Like this like being a
See,
villain.
I know people say the worst ass whooping the Avengers ever took was by the Masters of Evil when Zemo plotted that storming of Avengers Mansion.
Yeah.
But I would argue that it may be a three-way tie between that incident, the Kang Dynasty, where pretty much
Hmm.
Kang took over the planet, nuked Washington D.C., put Thor and Wonder Man in comas, and locked up every single costume hero on Earth, and forced
Wow.
the U.S. President, UN Secretary General, and Avengers Chairperson, the Wasp, to sign articles of surrender on national TV.
Wow.
Or, or the Korvac saga.
With the Korvac saga. Yeah.
I mean, I won't.
Yeah. No,
That one, it's I may have spoiled a little of the Kang Dynasty, but
it,
anything I say will spoil Korvac saga. Just go read that book.
no, well, before you read the book, read Avengers for Dummies,
Yeah,
and then go
get the
pick
primer.
up the book
Get the
because like
primer in first.
yeah, like what this will do, it will cause you to become like very interested, in the Avengers as a whole, and just to go and pick up these trades at your LCS bookstore, wherever you pick up your books. One thing, so like getting into like different media, considering how expansive the history of the Avengers have, do you think that there's been any adaptation that has gotten the Avengers right? Like you can't include everything, right? I'm sorry, fanboys, you can't. You got different mediums and
Yeah.
different limitations,
and,
but
and and animation changes over time and
yeah.
evolves. So what may have been peak in like 1999
Hmm.
may not be the case in like 2012. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Well, I mean, but even like I said, film. I don't think we've had like a live action TV Avengers thing, and even video games. Like I remember the video game, the Avengers video game, which was like the 4-player beat 'em up from back in the day.
Yeah,
You played the arcade, and then now you have an Avengers like game with Marvel Cosmic Invasion, which actually
yeah.
has Quasar in it, if I remember correctly. So, do you think that out of all the adaptations that you've seen, animation, live action movies, or even video games, that uh, how right have they gotten it, or is it just enough to kind of whet the appetite for people who might want to, dig further into the franchise or into this IP?
Um, I honestly, I think the movies have gotten it right for the most part. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
there are liberties taken here and there, but they're taking it's mostly 616 classic Marvel universe with minor changes. Like, yeah, it's the Ultimate Universe version of Hawkeye, the Ultimate Universe
Yeah.
version of Falcon, the Ultimate Universe version of Nick Fury, but I mean, still, to they make it work,
Mm-hmm.
and I've been pleased by, I would say, 85 to 90% of all of it. But as far as the definitive, I still say the Avengers: Earth's Mightiest Heroes animated series that was on from 2010 to 2012. That, to me, is the best piece of Marvel animation that has ever come out. I
Nice.
mean, no knock to X Men. I loved X Men '97,
Mm-hmm.
but Earth's Mightiest Heroes was perfection from beginning to end.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish we got more than those 2 seasons. Hell, I've even taken it upon myself to put together a pitch for season 3 if they ever decided to go the X-Men '97 route, where
Yeah.
nothing is off limits. We're not only focusing on the stuff that reflects the movies anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I thought that show was perfect.
And as far as my prep for this, it was such hard work. I started rewatching Endgame and then also Earth's Mightiest Heroes, because I'd only seen a couple of episodes of it. But as I watch it, and this is not it's a comparison, but then also it's just to show the quality of the show. I got that Timverse vibe as far as like the stories that they were telling. So not saying that they were like ripping off of anything that they were doing within the DCAU. It was just that vibe of like, we are taking this material. We have a chance to take this material as seriously as we want. Digging into what makes the show, makes the comics like work, but then also creating this narrative that you will be able to follow and have fun with. And shout out to Antonio on the producers end of things. He says one of the best opening themes ever. Definitely.
I say the best opening theme ever.
I,
I'll argue it till the end of time.
I don't know. There's something about Spectacular Spider-Man, another like slept on show.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
know what? I
yeah,
can't argue that one. I can't argue that one
yeah.
at
Like
all.
when that opening for Spectacular Spider-Man comes on, I'm like, okay, this is. They were in the studio just like cooking, as a kid
Yeah,
say
they
they were
were.
cooking. So I won't use slang ever again. That's a
No, you use as much as you want, and
that's a
we are
problem.
simpatico as far as I was literally about to say. I felt Earth's Mightiest Heroes was to Marvel Animation what the DCAU
Yeah.
was. It was from Batman animated series all the way up
Hmm.
through Justice League. That is peak DC animation wise, and I feel that Earth's Mightiest Heroes was that Marvel wise.
Yeah. Yeah. So definitely. So one of the, kind of, getting to the end of this, I wanted to ask, what do you hope that people take from this book? If they go to the bookstore and they see Avengers for Dummies, what do you want them to take from it?
I would hope that it was a entertaining ride that would
Hmm.
encourage them to pursue, maybe not reading every issue of Avenger, but trying the comics out. Go
Hmm.
into a bookstore, go into a comic shop, just to put your toe in the water. It's not scary. The comic books won't bite you. They just give them a chance. You may enjoy it, or hopefully it's I want to watch the movies, but I don't know who these characters are. Maybe this could be a primer for you to go out and start either streaming or buying the Blu-rays and start watching the Marvel movies from the beginning. I mean, this is a fun ride. Whether you're in the comics, you're into the books, the prose stuff. If you're into the TV shows, the movies, just come along for the. There's room for everyone on this ride.
Love it, love it, and because you're our only source about the For Dummies entire franchise now, is what's the future? What would you like to pitch for? You know, if you had a chance for more For Dummies books, this is our like, producer Antonio's question. You know, he wanted to know, like, do you have any ideas for any other characters and that you might like to do?
Iron Man,
Okay.
right off the bat. I'm saying this publicly. I've said this to the editors. I call dibs.
Love it. I love it.
That, and if I would follow it up if it was available and if I had the time to also do it, Black Panther.
Love it. Awesome. They're so as far as outside of the For Dummies universe, anything that we can look for from you as far as any other projects, any appearances, or like is it you're just kind of still stacking everything up right now?
Still stacking, but working on one project, television project that you may or may not be aware of that they're about to make an announcement on soon.
Awesome.
Working on a few comics pitches that one of them may be a go, so I'll be able to talk about that soon. Working on a young adult novel that I'm trying to get completed, hopefully by the springtime. And even though it is another For Dummies book, yes, I got contracted to do another one that's not comic book related.
Yeah.
But that announcement's actually coming next week. So.
Awesome. Well, you heard it here first, folks. There's another announcement coming about Gene's further forays into the world of For Dummies. So let us know, or let the watchers know. I was going to say readers. It's weird. Let everybody know where they can find you on social media.
Okay, on Instagram, Gene_Selassie, and also Gene Selassie at Blue Sky.
Okay. Nice,
so
nice.
Hit me up.
Yeah, hit them up with endless questions about the Avengers, but that's only after you've purchased the book.
See, I don't want to put that prerequisite. You don't have to buy it first, but eventually, please buy it.
I mean, I'm not you, so I'm trying to get you like books bought. Like I want this on the Amazon like top. No,
I appreciate.
You don't have to do that. Just say hi. If you see him at a show, if you see him somewhere, go and buy a book, or once you read the book, leave an Amazon review. But yeah, like I said, it's a great book. I enjoyed it, and I wish you more with the Avengers as in general, but also more For Dummies books. So
I appreciate it, and as soon as my convention schedule starts rolling out, the only definitive one I have is not until the summertime for a Comicpalooza in Houston. So that's definite.
Okay, cool. Well, usually Antonio is here to wrap everything up perfectly with a joke, but I will say let's just come back, same bat time, same bat channel. Thank you, Gene, for being here with us, and we'll see you again on TBA News Comics Chat, and y'all have a good night. Avengers Assemble.
Thank you so much. Y'all have a great one. Thank you for the support.